Okay, hallelujah. It's Terumah tonight. Terumah. The portion is called Terumah, and it's Exodus chapter 25. Shemot. Exodus chapter 25. Terumah, which means an offering. An offering. Terumah. T-E-R-M-U-A-H. Terumah. Because last week we left off, and Moshe entered the cloud, didn't he? And it was on the 7th day. The cloud had rested on Mount Sinai for 6 days, and on the 7th day, Moshe entered the cloud and stays there for 40 days and nights. And then, I mentioned last week, and then we did it on Sunday in the Gospels, you can understand how the Gospel writers were writing, because they understood this story, they understood the Torah. And so when it just so happened that it was after 6 days, it says in Matthew and Mark, after 6 days, Luke said about 8 days, and as we discussed that last week, that there was no controversy. After 6 days is 7, and about in Greek means not yet having reached, so about 8 days is 7. So it was actually on the 7th day, it says that Yeshua went up the mountain with James and Peter and John, and that cloud came again, didn't it? On the Mount of Transfiguration, the cloud came, and out of the cloud the voice spoke and said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear him, Shema him." He's the one you've got to listen to. This was God Almighty testifying from heaven that this is the prophet that Moses spoke to you about in Deuteronomy chapter 18, when he said, God's going to send a prophet like me. Him you must listen to. Whoever doesn't listen to his words will have to deal with God. You have to deal with it yourself with God if you refuse to hear the words of this great mediator, this one who hasn't come to condemn us, but this one who came to give his life for us. This is what happened, and it was this being praised, if you like. It was Moses was on the mountain, Elijah was on the mountain, and Yeshua was on the mountain, and he was transfigured, wasn't he? And it says his clothes were whiter than any Lord that on earth could make, and his face shone like the sun. This is what happened. It was all a picture of him who was going to come to make the new covenant in his blood. Because that's where we left off last week, when Moshe said, "This is the covenant, this is the covenant," and it was with the blood of bulls and goats that it was ratified. That's what we read in Hebrews last week, that it wasn't bulls' blood and goats' blood that Jehovah wanted. He was always after the blood of his Son. And this was revealed to Abraham in Genesis chapter 15, wasn't it? When Abraham was in a trance, and the smoking oven and the flaming torch passed through, that broke the divided pieces. And that's all saying someone is going to have to pay with their life if this covenant gets broken. Right. And the one that was always going to pay was always going to be God. That's why Abraham was in a trance, or whatever, saying he was asleep, but he was in a trance. He wasn't walking up and down in between the pieces, because it was never him that was going to tell you. It was always the creator of the universe saying, "I will be the one to pay the price for this covenant that you're going to break." That's the way it is. That's the way it is. And so it was a beautiful thing what happened last week. Moshe has entered into the cloud. He wasn't standing afar off like the rest of the people. He went into the presence of God. And this is what happens next. Chapter 25. Yah continues to give Moshe his wonderful instructions all now this week and next week and a part of the week after. It's all about the tabernacle, all about the tabernacle that God wanted to be set up, and show Moshe the heavenly tabernacle and said, make sure you make everything exactly like this. Copies on earth of what's in heaven. Hebrews tells us more about that. I'll just read a bit. Chapter 25, verse 1. Then Jehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering, Terumah, from everyone who gives it willingly with his heart you shall take my offering. So that's the first part. It's got to be willingness. It says in one of the epistles, Paul says that God loves a cheerful giver. If you can't do it cheerfully, don't bother. God's not interested if you can't give it cheerfully. He wants cheerfulness, willingness from the heart. So it's got to be a willing offering. And verse 3, and this is the offering which you shall take from them: gold, silver and bronze. Which, if you've been watching the Olympics all week, that's all you keep seeing, isn't it, in North Korea or South Korea? Gold, silver and bronze. And that's the way it is. The three metals here, they're valuable metals, and they decrease, don't they, in their value. Gold's the most valuable, silver and then bronze. And all of this stuff, you know where all this came from? It all came from Egypt, didn't it? Yeah. When God delivered them from Egypt, he said, go and ask the people, say, any chance, give us some gold and that. And they come out with all of these possessions. Yeah. And this is what they're all for. God's got them to get all that so they can bring it all back and give it back to God. That's what he gives us things for. That's what we were talking about before. He wants to bless us so we can be a blessing. That's what it's for. So now he's saying, come on, if you've got willing hearts, bring me this offering. I want gold, silver and bronze, blue, purple and scarlet thread, fine linen and goat's hair. We'll just go back on that now. Blue, purple and scarlet, they always come in order, that order. When you see these colours mentioned in scripture, they're always in this order: blue, purple and scarlet. Blue is always a picture of divinity, isn't it? Of the heavens. The heavenly realm is blue. Purple is a picture of royalty, but it's also a mixture of blue and red, isn't it? Blue is a prime colour, red is a primary colour, and purple is a mixture of them. So this is already presented to us a picture of the oneness that we have in the Messiah, that he was God and he became man. So that's the red, is always about man, isn't it? Adam, Edom, red. Man, red pictures humanity. So this picture is, you've got divinity and humanity mixing together to become purple. That's what it is. You know, you can't separate purple back into the two colours. You take the blue out of purple, you'll have red. If you take the red out of purple, you'll have blue. Purple is a mixture of the two, and that's a picture of the divinity and the humanity become one, and also a picture of humanity, us, becoming one with the Godhead, becoming one in God. We're one with him and one. So that's interesting. I don't know, you might have heard this, the blue, where does the blue come from? The blue is from that special, like, sea snail, isn't it? You've all heard this, haven't you? Yeah. But you might not have heard this bit, but you've heard of Lydia, and she was a trader of purple, wasn't she? She was a trader of purple. And this comes from this snail. And I always get it mixed up this way, but if you get this snail and crush it in daylight, it becomes blue or purple, whichever. And if you crush it under the moonlight, it becomes the opposite, blue or purple, whichever way around it is. One under the sunlight becomes one colour, blue or purple, and then the other one becomes the opposite in the moonlight. But because of the Romans coveted the purple, they were having all the snails off and insisting that they were crushed to make purple down. And so all them snails got off, didn't they? For 2,000 years, them snails got off from the shores of the Mediterranean. And then when Israel came back to the land, guess what come back? Them snails come back. The creator of the universe is in charge. He's in charge. It says in Revelation, all of the sea creatures will praise him. So I don't know how they did it, about whales and all that, but this is what it says. All of these creatures are created by the creator for this. And that's where we get our blue from, and our purple from. Or you can mix blue and red and get purple. And most of you here know where we get the red from. Most of you here know where we get the red from. But there may be some of you that don't know where we get the red from. So I'm going to tell you, it's our best mate, the crimson worm. The crimson worm, he always comes in at this time of year. Whenever we read scarlet, it's pointing us to the crimson worm. Another one of those tiny little creatures that the creator of the universe made with a real specific role in its life, or more importantly, in its death. And I'll read it this time, because I can just ramble on, but I remember reading this a few years ago, and it's so beautiful, this little narrative. If you just Google the crimson worm, this is the first one that comes up. If you Google crimson worm, it'll throw this page up, and I'll just read from it. But what it is, just a bit of background, you know, the crimson worm, it comes from Psalm 22 first. In Psalm 22, if you haven't heard this before, this will blow you away. And if you have heard it before, you'll just be loving it, because this is the Messiah. This Psalm 22 is the Psalm of the cross, they call it. It's such a clear picture of the Messiah on the cross, isn't it? Psalm 22. Because it starts off, my God, why have you forsaken me? Which is what Yeshua cried out on the cross, isn't it? This is the Psalm of the cross. But it says in verse 6, just to be quick about this, but I am a worm, and no man, a reproach of men, and despised by the people. All those who see me ridicule me. They shout out the lips, saying, and shake the head, saying, he trusted in Yah. Let him rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. This is my beloved Son, in whom I delight. And this is what was getting said when Yeshua was on the cross, wasn't it? They were doing this. I mean, verbatim. Verbatim. This is how the Gospels recorded. They were quoting Psalm 22 when Yeshua was on the cross. This is what they were doing. It even says in the Gospels they were shaking their heads, just like it says here. They were shaking their heads and shouting out at him, "Come on, let God deliver you. If you're the Son of God, let God get you down off the cross." Even the fellas on the crosses next to him were saying the same thing, weren't they? Until one had a miraculous change of heart. I love that narrative. It gives me so much hope. People on deathbeds can still get saved. The witnesses here shouting, people on deathbeds, God still reaches them. You know, he hasn't given up on anyone. He's not willing for any to perish. We said this last night, didn't we? After Absalom, when Absalom got done in, and David was mourning for the son who was going to overthrow him, mourning for Absalom, who was a traitor. And David, my son Absalom, and we said, that doesn't have captured the heart, doesn't it, of the Messiah, that's not willing for anyone to perish. We've all sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. We're not saved because of anything good we've done. Far from it. And so this is what this is a picture of. I am a worm, it says. I am a worm. And the Hebrew for this word, special phrase, special word, is tola at, T-O-L-A, apostrophe, A-T-H, tola at. The normal name for a worm is different. This is a very special worm. And it's in Isaiah as well, Isaiah chapter 1. You've heard this before, most of you, but how many times? You know, you can hear this time and time again. Amen. Chapter 1 verse 18 says this, chapter 1 Isaiah verse 18, come now, let's reason together, says Jehovah. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall be as wool. Donald's done a lovely little placard thing for us of the crimson words in it on it. Beautiful, thanks for that. Really artistic, beautiful. And we've got it on our doorway when you go. It's beautiful because this is the narrative about it, the crimson worm. Let me just see. The crimson worm, I'm reading from this now. The crimson worm is a very special worm that looks more like a grub than a worm. And it does, you know, you see it there. I don't know if you can see it there. But if you have a check, and I've checked this out myself, they're actually harvesting these crimson worms in Israel now. They have been, for the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, they're picking them off the trees. They're tiny grubs. And what they do with one tiny grub is stick it in a beaker of warm water. And within minutes, seconds, the beaker of water is turned crimson from one little tiny crimson worm, dissolves in the water. That's where they get the dye from. That's where they get it from. And the dye, this is all part, that's why it's so relevant to us, because that's how these linens got the colour. They were immersed, weren't they? They were baptised, if you want. Dipped into these dyes and then stained for life. And that's what it's a picture of us, that we are immersed into the Messiah, and it will never, the colours will never run, you know. So that's what this is saying.
We're washed white, isn't it?
That's what it says, isn't it? Yeah, amen. That's nice, isn't it? Yeah, we go into this baptism of the Messiah and come out white as snow. So this comes in where it says, when it's time for the female or the mother crimson worm to have babies, which she only does one time in her life, she finds the trunk of a tree, a wooden fence post or a stick. She then attaches her body to that wood and makes a hard crimson shell. She is so strongly and permanently stuck to the wood that the shell can never be removed without tearing her body completely apart and killing her. The crimson worm then lays her eggs under her body and the protective shell. When the baby worms or the larvae hatch, they stay under the shell. Not only does the mother's body give protection for her babies, but it also provides them with food. The babies feed on the living body of the mother. After just a few days, when the young worm grows to the point that they are able to take care of themselves, the mother crimson worm dies. As the mother crimson worm dies, she uses a crimson or scarlet red dye, which not only stains the wood she is attached to, but also her young children. They are coloured scarlet for the rest of their lives. After 3 days, this is nature. This is God. This is God who's created these little grubs to do this. After 3 days, the dead mother's crimson worm's body loses its crimson colour and turns into a white wax, which falls to the ground just like snow. Though your sins are scarlet, yet they shall be as white as snow. So what did Yeshua mean by saying, I am a worm? There are a lot of ideas what Yeshua might have meant, but nobody really knows for sure. Shouldn't have read that bit, because we do know for sure. However, it's very interesting. Just like the crimson worm, Yeshua sacrificed or gave up his life on a tree, so that the children might be washed with his crimson blood and their sins cleaned as white as snow. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, that is the crimson worm. That's where the dye comes from. The crimson worm fixes itself to a tree. This is what Yeshua did. He was nailed to a tree. He was pierced for our transgressions. He shed his blood just like that crimson worm, so that we could be washed in his blood. And that's the miracle of this. We come out washed. We come out cleansed. We are mixed into him. So that's just a quick one really. But you know, Google the crimson worm and you can read all that for yourself. Isn't it wonderful? What a wonderful picture of salvation. Blue, purple and scarlet. And I think last year, probably got carried away, but when you see where this all gets applied to, this was mainly for the curtains, but it was for the tabernacle doorway. The veil of the doorway was made of these colours. And so when it says, enter his gates with thanksgiving, you can understand why now. Because to enter the gates of the tabernacle, you had to go through a veil that was blue, purple and scarlet. That was always pointing to this God who would become a man, who would die for us, to make us one with him. Purple, royalty, a royal priesthood. So all this tabernacle is all about Yeshua. It's all about him, but it's also all about us. It's so much in here about us. It's all about Yeshua, but we are one with him, and more clearly, we are his body. And this tabernacle is such a picture of his body that we are. That's an amazing picture. So I think I will just read a psalm at this stage. I think Psalm 84 may be a good one, just to emphasise what this is all about. This is the dwelling place of God. We'll get to that bit in a minute. Or just promote Psalm 84 and I'll carry on reading for a bit, make a bit more sense out of it. So put your finger in Psalm 84. You might even read Psalm 48. Great psalms all about the dwelling place of God. And that is us, you see. That's us. That's us. I'll just carry on reading from the Torah, chapter 25, verse 5. After this blue, purple and scarlet red, oh yeah, fine linen. That's clear what that is from Revelation. Chapter 19, it says that unto the bride was granted to be arrayed in fine white linen, and the fine white linen is the righteous acts of the saints. This is what it says. We're not saved by works. Never, ever let anyone tell us we're saved by works, because that's just completely and utterly what the Bible says. The opposite of it says you're not saved by works. You're saved by grace through faith. And it's a free gift. No one can earn it. But you can't leave it at that. That's not fair. You've got to carry on. And it says after that, in the next verse, that you are saved unto his works, that he has prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them. So this is what that white linen represents. It represents the righteous acts, the righteous works of the saints. And the righteous acts of the saints, Bill Bullock says this, if anyone's been reading it in this Torah portion this week, he says it quite clearly, it's a great quote. He says the righteous acts of the saints aren't just random acts of charity. They're very nice to do, but they're not the righteous acts of the saints that the Bible's talking about. And any Hebrew would understand the language. The righteous acts of the saints are the commandments of Torah. Yeah. Keeping the commandments of Torah are the works he has prepared beforehand for us to walk in. You don't just make them up and decide, oh, I'm going to be dead nice and start doing something dead nice. That's nice, but it's not the righteous acts of the saints. They are Torah works. That's what getting together on the Sabbath is the righteous acts of the saints, because he has asked us to do it. He's asked us to congregate on his day and to read his word. So you will defo be rewarded for this. I'm not being funny when I say that. It's not the only reason I come here, but the reason I come here is because this is, I want to say cornerstone, because that might take it a bit too far, because Yeshua is the cornerstone, but it's a real foundation of my faith now and your faith, isn't it? It's the Sabbath, and we know that we're meant to congregate on the Sabbath, and we're meant to read the Torah together. It's what the Creator of the universe has given us the instructions to do. And you can see quite clearly from Acts, this is how the early church carried on with themselves. They met on the Sabbath and they studied the Torah and the prophets. Why would you want to do it any other way? Are we better than that? Far from it. Verse 5, ram skin dyed red, badger skins. Some of your translations will say dolphin skins. Where did you get them from? In the Red Sea, in the Sinai? And all badgers and dolphins. I mean, thank God for people like Nehemiah Gordon. Nehemiah Gordon's not a believer in Yeshua the Messiah as yet. But I tell you what, he knows the word of God. He's a Karaite Jew, which means they don't have any of that rabbinic nonsense, they don't have any of those attitudes. The Karaites just want their Torah. That's all they go by, their Torah. And I listen to these people, and he explained this week, the Hebrew word for this badger or dolphin is a bit of a strange word. And he said, what it is, it's just a kind of goat, which doesn't have to make sense, doesn't it? It's like, there's been loads of goats, and, all of the flocks and all the rest of it, but dolphins and badgers, can't really imagine them. So it's a kind of goat, as I'm led to believe, not a badger or a dolphin. It's a kind of goat. Here's another one, verse 6. Oil, this is what he wants you to bring. Oil, shemen, and oil for the light, for the menorah. We'll get into these things, as we go through the next few weeks. Because what we get tonight is the instructions. Then in a few weeks we'll actually get the actual appointments of the people to make these things, and it all starts getting put together. So you'll be seeing all of this over the next few weeks if we don't get through it all tonight. So he wants you to bring oil, shemen. And whenever I say that, I know you all know this enough now. If we need oil, where do we get it from? Gethsemane, isn't it? Shemen is oil, and Gethsemane is the oil press, isn't it? That's where we get this oil from. If you want fresh pressed oil, the best place in the world to go to is the Mount of Olives. Go to the Mount of Olives and get your fresh pressed oil from Gethsemane. Hallelujah.
He's going to bring fresh oil when he's coming back on the Mount of Olives, isn't he?
I know, but that's what I'm saying. The Mount of Olives is where you get your olive oil from, and Gethsemane's on the Mount of Olives, and that's where you get your fresh pressed oil from. If that's next week's portion, it will start off that way, that we're commanded to get oil, to keep them in order burning, to keep them in order burning. So whenever we talk about oil here, I know you're all thinking the 5 foolish and the 5 wise virgins. I know you're all thinking that. As soon as oil gets mentioned in here, everyone's like that. We use oil in our vessels. Where are we going to get the oil from? But this is where we get it from. We get it from Gethsemane. And Yeshua said to his 3 disciples, the same ones that were on the Mount of Transfiguration, Peter, James and John, they were on the Mount of Transfiguration. They heard the voice from heaven. And then a few months later, they were with Yeshua in Gethsemane, and Yeshua saying, can't you stay awake for an hour? Can't you just pray for an hour? Just pray for an hour with me. And they can't, they're so tired. So tired. And this is the message to us now. Stay awake now. Stay awake. Press in and get oil in your lamps, in your vessels. And what's all that about? It is going to Gethsemane and saying, Father, you know what? Not my will. Not my will. Not my will. Because our will is deceiving as well. Our will can sort of have us thinking we're in the right place and being all religious on the outside. But God's not interested in that. He wants the heart, doesn't he? He wants us coming before him with our hearts saying, Father, not my will. Not my will. Your will in my life. Please, that is all I want. Your will in my life and our life, our lives. So that's where you get your oil from. Oil for the light. And spices, here's the spices for the anointing oil, but we'll get into that later, another week. And for sweet incense, onyx stones, same as the gold. You find, if you want to find your onyx stones and your gold, this was all mentioned in Genesis, in the Garden of Eden. It says there was fine gold there, and there was onyx stones there. These will all be used later for the high priest, for his shoulder. And so this, anytime I see onyx stones, it's just telling me to come back to the garden, come back to the Garden of Eden. It's got to be part of our life, the Garden of Eden. We haven't, just because we've done it a few weeks ago and we won't be back to Genesis till next year. You need to always be in that narrative of the Garden of Eden, seeing the simplicity of what went wrong. You know, that all through the sins of one man, we all died, it says, doesn't it? Right. Through one man, we all died. But through one man, we all live. The second Adam. So whenever I see onyx stones, it takes me back to the garden. Whenever I go back to the garden, I just remember how we got into this mess, and then I just remember how we got out of this mess. That's what onyx stones do for me. And stones to be set in the ephod and in the breastplate. Now this is the point. Verse 8, let them make me a sanctuary, it says. That's just very English and religious. It's saying, let them make me a mikdash, isn't it? A mikdash in Hebrew. Mikdash, which comes from the root of kodesh. A kodesh. Let them make for me a set apart, a holy, set apart place. What for? So that I may dwell, that I may shechan amongst them. Shechan, because this is where we get the word, the mishkan from, isn't it? That's what it's called, isn't it? The tabernacle is a mishkan, because it's the place where he is going to dwell. Right. And this is what God is. You know, I remember you saying years ago, Donna, it's a great phrase. You said something like, the creation itself gets one verse, and that's why it's called the universe. One verse. In one verse, God went, in the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth. Nice one. And then you get a bit of a narrative of how he deals with it, for a couple of chapters. But really, it's just one verse. I made the heavens and the earth. Nice one. It speaks for itself. Creation speaks for itself. The fool says in his heart there's no God. How can you look at creation and think there's no creator? How can you look at the stars and the moon and think that this was all happened by a big bang? Creation speaks of a creator, doesn't it? It speaks of a creator. And the creator has always wanted to dwell with man, so much so that he gave one verse to explain how he created the heavens and the earth. But he gives I think it's 50 chapters throughout the Torah to explain his dwelling place with man. That's what he really wants us to understand, not how the creation came to be, but how his dwelling with us was going to be set up. This all points to the future, to how it's all going to be wrapped up. This, when the holy city, the new Jerusalem, will come out of heaven like a bride adorned for her husband. And let's just read that bit so we understand that. Revelation 21. Revelation 21, I'll just read it. It says in the start of Revelation, blessed are those who read and those who hear the words of this book. So I will read it. Revelation 21, now I saw a new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no more sea. Then I, John, Yochanan, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. So you can see, can't you know, that the bride is the New Jerusalem. The bride is the dwelling place of God. This is what he's shown us in the Word Go, when he created man, and then he put the man to sleep, and then he took out of the man the woman, didn't he? He took out of man the building blocks to make the woman, to build the woman, and then he presented the woman back to the man, Adam, and the man said, this is flesh of my flesh, and bone of my bone, and for that reason, man shall be join his wife, and the two shall become one. And this Ephesians tells us quite clearly, Ephesians 5, even goes so far as to say, this is a great mystery. This is a great mystery. This is all speaking about the Messiah and his body. This is what always God has intended, that mankind will be his dwelling place. He doesn't want to live in a tent, really. He wants to live in us. And this is what has happened now through the new birth, isn't it? Yeshua said this. But the Father and I will come and make our home in you. So the New Jerusalem is the bride. That's what it says. The New Jerusalem is the bride. Verse 3, I heard a loud voice from heaven. Look, verse 3 saying, behold, the tabernacle, the Mishkan, what we're reading about tonight, the Mishkan of God is with men, and he will dwell with them. I mean, if this isn't getting you excited, it's getting God excited. Amen. This is what he is all about. He wants to dwell with us because he made us and loves us so much. We are what it's all about for God. He loves us. He wants people to just come and love him back. Oh, help us, Father, to get the majesty of this. Behold, the tabernacle of God's with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Then he who sat on the throne, this is Yeshua, said, behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, write these, for these words are true and faithful. And he said to me, it's done, it's done. I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. I will give of the fountain of the water of life freely to him who thirsts. He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. He sang that at the start. But, yeah, I mean, you want to be careful now. But the cowardly top of the list, unbelieving, abominable, murderers, sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone. I mean, they're all parts of, breaking the commandments, aren't they? You read that last week, don't murder, don't steal, don't lie. All people that do that won't be in. Verse 9, then one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls filled with the seven last plagues came to me and talked with me, saying, come, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, This is why I'm so excited, just to divert a bit, but I've said to a few people, the last few weeks, I have really started to understand, and I just mean started to understand, how important Zion is. It's never been part of the vocabulary, it's never been part of my meditation. I've never really thought much about Zion, but the last couple of weeks since we read in Hebrews chapter 12 that you have come to Mount Zion, it's totally got me. It's totally captivated me and made me realise I need to understand this. And this week, it feels like the only comfort I've got in my life is reading Zion. I mean, it's the only thing that's comforting me right now. And when I read about Zion, I feel comforted. I feel home. Zion is home. That's home. And I know it. And there's no one, we read in the Psalm 125, those who trust in Yehovah will be like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved. And that's what it feels like for me now. I can't be moved. No one is going to be able to move me from Mount Zion. I don't care who you are. I don't care how clever you are. I don't care. Whatever. You will not ever be able to convince me anything other than I live at Zion. I'm a resident of Zion. I know it. I know it's where I belong. I know it's where everyone belongs. But I can't give you that revelation. I can only ask that you'll get it, that the Father will reveal these things to us all. But Zion is so important. It really is. It's so important to understand. Because it's clear in Hebrews, we read it through the week, Paul saying in Galatians chapter 4, there's two covenants. One is Sinai, Mount Sinai, and one is the heavenly Jerusalem, it says. And then we went to Hebrews 12, and it told us quite clearly that you have come to Mount Zion now. You have come to Mount Zion. You have come to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. So this is when we see heavenly Jerusalem. It's Zion. It's Zion. And you know what? I've got to read this to you as well, because I've been spending a bit of time in Zion. So if you go to the Blue Letter Bible, people are getting into that, aren't they? Go to the Blue Letter Bible and just do a little study on Zion. It's quite amazing. The first thing that got my attention when you do it, you'll see that Zion is mentioned 153 times. And you know that's important, don't you? Because that's what, because that's what Yeshua, when we were catching the fish, wasn't it? And it goes out of its way to tell us, how many fish did he catch? 153. Well, it just so happens that Zion's mentioned 153 times.
Stu, the graft to Zion.
What?
Grafted in as Zion.
Right, well, okay. This is what my thing says. If you go into the Gesenius Hebrew Chaldee lexicon, this is what Zion is. A sunny mountain. Hallelujah! A sunny mountain. A sunny, you wouldn't want to go there. It's a sunny mountain. Not like that Sinai. Sinai means a thorny mountain, isn't it? Because of the thorn bush. Well, this is a sunny mountain. That's what it says. The lexicon of these people that study these things. So there's so much you could talk about Zion, and we will be talking about it more and more. But when you see that in verse 10 of Revelation 20, that the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, her light was like the most precious stone, like a jasper stone. And you could go, oh, that's lovely, that. What's wrong with him? What's a jasper stone? What's this mean? We'll see this next week maybe. But when we get into the breastplate of the high priest, when we see the breastplate, there's 12 stones on the breastplate, and each stone represents one of the tribes. Well, what's the jasper stone represents? Benjamin. Benjamin. And what's Benjamin? The son of my right hand. And that's what this is all about. This is what this covenant is about. Psalm 110, sit at my right hand. Now that's where we're seated now, because we are seated in Him. We're seated in the Messiah, and the Messiah is seated at the right hand of the Majesty on high. So we're seated in Him, we are seated at the right hand of God, which is the favour and authority of God. the son of my right hand. And that's what this represents. This holy Jerusalem appears to be like a jasper, which is always speaking of Benjamin, the son of my right hand. Beautiful. And I'll just say this, verse 12, she had a great and high wall with 12 gates, and 12 angels at the gates, and names written on them, which said the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So you better forget all that replacement theology nonsense, because the new heaven, the new Jerusalem that comes out of heaven, has got the 12 names of the tribes of Israel on there. So don't be saying up there with all the anti-Semitism, oh, I'm not going in there. You know, there's all the way now. It's like, you'll just be sitting outside on your own. You know, 12 names of the 12 tribes of Israel, and so on. I could keep reading it, but I'm not going to, because before that, all the time. But the reason I'm reading that is because of one of the Psalms. Which one is it? Which one is it? Is it 48? That's great. I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right there. Psalm 48 is a great psalm. You'll all know it when you see it. Yes, it is. Psalm 48. I'm going to just read these things out. We're not getting very far tonight. That's just the way it goes. But the main thing I'm trying to get across is this dwelling place, you see. That's all I'm trying to ram on tonight. All of this is about his dwelling place. And his dwelling place is going to tell us where it is now, and won't be surprised to find out what it is. Psalm 48, the title of this is the glory of God in Zion, on that lovely sunny mountain. Great is Jehovah, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in his holy mountain, beautiful in elevation. The joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, on the sides of the north. The city of the great king. Yes! God is in their palaces. He is known as their refuge. I'm not going to read it all. Verse 9. Verse 9. For we have thought, O God, in your loving kindness, in the midst of your temple, according to your name, O God, so is your praise in the ends, to the ends of the earth. Your right hand, as you see, Benjamin, your right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice. Come on, let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the daughters of Judah be glad because of your judgments. That's what we read about last week, Mishpatim, last week's portion, the judgments of God. Look what it says now, verse 12. Walk about Zion. Come on, you inhabitants of Zion, walk about Zion, and go around it, count their towers, mark where their bulwarks, consider their palaces, that you may tell it to the generation following. But this is our God forever and ever. He will be our guide, even to death. And so the reason I'm reading that is so clear here, that the dwelling place of God is Mount Zion. It's his holy mountain. And Hebrews 12 to New Covenant believers says that we have come to this mountain. So you really need to start getting familiar with this place. You need to do what it says. Walk around, count the towers. Well, I don't know where to find that out, but I am on the lookout now. You better believe I am trying to see this city. I want understanding and information, because I am sensing what it's doing to me. It's making me a daughter of Zion. Let's put it that way. A daughter of Zion. And I've said this a few times in our smaller groups, but just for the record, daughters of Zion are different than daughters of Jerusalem. And they are. And you only need to read the Song of Songs to see that. The daughters of Jerusalem are in the Song of Songs throughout. But in the chapter 3 of the Song of Songs, when King Solomon is coming on the day of his wedding, it says, the day of his wedding, so you should get a bit of a clue now. On the day of his wedding, it says, daughters of Zion, go to meet the king. My paraphrase is, daughters of Jerusalem, where do you think you're going? I haven't told you to go anywhere. Get back there, because you're going to still be here in chapter 6, daughters of Jerusalem. But daughters of Zion, you go and meet the king. And this to me, as you know, the Song of Songs to me is a commentary on the parable or the teaching of the wise and foolish virgins. And it's only the daughters of Zion that are told to go out to meet the king. And in the next chapter, the bridegroom, the beloved, is saying, there's no spot in you. There is no spot in you. You are perfect, my love. Come with me, my spouse. This is what it's saying in chapter 4. And then in chapter 5, after the wedding supper scene, there's still someone lying in bed who hasn't gone. And then you're introduced to the next phase now. And you're entering into the time, for my understanding, of great tribulation. And guess who's still hanging around? The daughters of Jerusalem. They're still there. They're still there in chapter 6. They haven't got off. They're not the daughters of Zion. The daughters of Zion are different than the daughters of Jerusalem. That's what I believe. You don't have to believe that, but I would just encourage you to check these things out. Because when it's talking Zion, 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 I just think more now than ever before there is a real anointing on this, a real call of God to wake us up and to make us become daughters of Zion. He wants us to be daughters of Zion. He wants us to be wise virgins who escape. That's how I believe this. I know people see this differently. Anyway, so I'm sorry for going off on a bit of a tangent, but I'm just trying to establish, if we're going to start reading, let them make me a sanctuary, Mikdash, that I may dwell among them. We're talking about Zion here. This tabernacle is a picture of the dwelling place of God, which is us, and it is Zion. Verse 9, according to all that I show you, that is the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all its furnishings, just so you shall make it. So that's the start. And now, for the next 15 minutes, let's just have a look. It goes right through tonight to chapter 27, verse 19. And what we get to deal with now is the Ark of the Testimony, the table of the showbread, the menorah, the tabernacle itself, and then the altar of burnt offering. That's what we get to deal with tonight. So where should we go? Let's just deal with it as we get it. In fact, we'll do the Ark of the Testimony now. And that's probably all we'll get covered tonight. Chapter 25, verse 10. And they shall make an ark of acacia wood, or in some translations, shittim wood, isn't it? Shittim wood, whatever, acacia wood. But this wood's boss wood. It's great, this wood. It's you read it this week today in Bill Bullock's commentary. He was saying, and he was saying this wood, isn't it? It's like tough wood, this wood, because it's wilderness wood, isn't it? And its roots go really deep down. It's got deep roots, and it's really hard wood, very solid. In fact, the Greek Septuagint translation for this suggests that it's incorruptible wood. It's that tough that even the little termites can't get into it. It's tough, solid wood. But the tree itself is a bit of an ugly tree. It's not one of them lovely trees. You know when you see lovely trees and they're all lovely with lovely leaves. But the acacia's not like that. It's a thorny, horrible tree with big thorns on it. And a lot of people say that this was what Yeshua's crown of thorns was made from, the acacia wood. So it's no surprise that he's asking for the Ark of the Covenant to be made from this wood, this incorruptible wood. This wood that's not beautiful to look at. And this is exactly what Isaiah said, wasn't it? There was nothing comely about him, nothing that would make people be attracted to him outwardly. That's not what the Messiah was. No, not at all. And that's what this acacia wood is. Not a beautiful in appearance in any way, but solid and reliable. Acacia wood. And that is, again, wood always speaks of the humanity. So this ark, which represents the Messiah, is made from wood, humanity. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. You shall overlay it with pure gold, though. Pure gold. Gold always speaks of divinity And the Hebrew word for gold is speaking more of brightness and brilliance. And this is what Hebrews says. Hebrews chapter 1, I'll just read it quickly. Hebrews chapter 1 says, lovely, it says, chapter 1, Hebrews, God, who at various times and in various ways spoke in time past to the fathers by the prophets, has in these last days spoken to us by his Son, whom he has appointed heir of all things, through whom he made the worlds, who, being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he by himself purged our sins, sat down at the right hand of the majesty on high. So you can see that Yeshua is the brightness of God's image. And this is what this is saying: make this ark from wood, humanity, but overlay it with gold, bright divinity. Inside and out you shall overlay it with gold, and you shall make a moulding all round of gold. You shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, 4, which speaks to me of the 4 corners of the earth. This ark of the testimony is a testimony to the whole earth, not just for this nation, it's for the world. Israel was supposed to be a light to the world and teach the world the Torah of God. That's what it was supposed to be. That's what he said at the start. If you will hear my voice, I will make you a holy nation and a kingdom of priests, a special treasure to me. That's what was supposed to happen. It didn't happen, did it? It didn't happen. But now, because of the new covenant ratified in his blood, you are a holy nation now. You are a royal priesthood now. You are right now called out of darkness into his light to proclaim the greatness, the excellencies of him. So that's what we're meant to be doing now. So 4 rings, the 4 corners of the earth. Put them in its 4 corners. 2 rings shall be on one side and 2 rings on the other side. And you shall make poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. You shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark, that the ark may be carried by them. Does anyone think of this when Yeshua said, take upon yourselves my yoke. My yoke's easy and my burden's light. It's talking about this, because that's how they carried it, wasn't it? They carried it on the shoulders, on poles. Yeshua's saying, take my yoke upon you. Be one of them that carry my presence with you and carry my commands within you. This is what he wants us to be. He wants us to, that's what John says, 1 John, his commands aren't burdensome. It's the commandments of God aren't burdensome. The commandments of men are. That's why he did it. That's what Yeshua says. You've made the Torah, the commandments of God, and you've added to them. And you've made them too hard for people to carry. You're breaking people's backs with your man-made religion. The Torah's not like that. There's nothing hard about keeping this. Nothing hard about keeping the feasts. Nothing hard about keeping the Shabbat. Just keep it and carry it and take his yoke upon you. That's what this is for. He wants this to be carried in a certain way. You know, we see this in Samuel, didn't we? When David just seemed to lash it on a cart and the ark was falling everywhere and someone tried to steady it and got killed. Because you're not meant to stick the ark on some cart. Human beings are meant to carry the ark of God. Human beings, not animals. Human beings are meant to carry the ark of God. That's why he's created it this way. Verse 15, the poles shall be in the rings of the ark, they shall not be taken from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony which I will give you. This is the 2 tablets of stone, isn't it? God gave 2 tablets of stone. When the sin of the golden calf happened, they got broke. And so God gave 2 new tablets of stone, which is a picture, isn't it, of the covenant getting broken, and then the covenant getting renewed and re-established. That's what that's a picture of. It didn't get done away with. The new covenant is not without Torah. Mount Zion, it says, we haven't come to Sinai, we've come to Zion, and Zion's not going, I can do what you like now. Zion's not a tallest mountain. It's the same voice that speaks today, from Zion every day. That's why I want to be more into Zion. I want to live there. I want to do, I'm saying I want to spend my time in Zion. Because I know that's where I'll hear his voice. I'm bound to hear his voice if I'm spending time at Zion. Because that's what the Bible's saying. His voice is still speaking from this heavenly mountain. So don't refuse it. God, if they didn't escape, because they refused it, what makes you think you're going to escape? This is a better mountain, based on better promises. It's a better covenant, it says. That's what it says, isn't it? And here's the next bit. Verse 17. You shall make a mercy seat. So we're not going to get much further tonight, so we'll finish off with the mercy seat. You shall make a mercy seat of pure gold. And that's a strange word, mercy seat, because mercy is chesed, isn't it? Chesed. And this word hasn't got mercy in it anyway. And it hasn't got seat in it anyway. The word here is kaporet. You shall make a kaporet. And the root of kaporet is, probably most of you would know this, it's kapor, isn't it? Kofir, which is where you get Yom Kippur from. So the mercy seat, it's not, nothing, it doesn't mention mercy, it doesn't mention seat. It says a kaporet, a covering, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, covering, like you see in the ark when it had pitch to cover it on the outside, and it was anyway. Kaporet is what mercy seat is. It's a kaporet. It's all to do with atonement. Kapor, Yom Kippur. So you shall make a kaporet, a mercy seat of pure gold. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, 1.5 cubits its width. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold. They're not them little fellas that you see in nappies, them little cupid things, little babies with nappies on. That's not what cherubim are. Whatever they are, the better, the more than them little cupids. But I don't know whether I've seen the Ron Wyatt stuff, or if any of you believe the Ron Wyatt stuff. This guy who believes he found the Ark of the Covenant, and there's one of the chief rabbis, what was his name? Rabbi, I can't remember. One of the chief rabbis has testified in the last few years that he has seen the Ark of the Covenant, that the Ark of the Covenant is there, you've got it, know where it is, and it's going to be revealed at the set time. Well, if it's anything to go by, the drawing he's done of it, as these 2 cherubim, and not kneeling down on the ark, but actually standing at either side of the ark. That's this fellow who's seen it. That's the impression he's doing of it, that these cherubim aren't these little angels and nappies, but actually, quite impressive. And they look like priests. That's what they look like. They look like they have the priest's garments on and that. That's, we'll find out one day. But that's what's happened, 2 cherubim. But whenever you see cherubim, that should be the first time you've seen cherubim. Remember? The Garden of Eden. And that's when Adam was cast out, wasn't he, of the garden? Cast out of the presence of God because of sin. And God put cherubim at the entrance of the Garden of Eden to guard it with a flaming sword, saying, there's no way you're getting back in here. There's no way. The presence is guarded, and you have to pass through fire to get through here. Well, that's the way it is now, isn't it? That's the way the presence of God now is being opened up for us. These cherubim aren't going to kill us anymore, because they're not going to judge us now, because Yeshua's blood has been placed on this mercy seat now. The blood of the Messiah is on this, the heavenly ark, it says, Hebrews, the real ark in heaven. He has put his blood on this now, once for all, it says, once for all, he has shed his blood, and this blood is on the mercy seat in heaven, and God is satisfied. He's satisfied. I'll just carry on reading this then, 5 minutes in the New Testament. So, make 1 cherub at one end, and 1 cherub at the other end. You shall make the cherubim at the 2 ends of it, of one piece, so it's all made of 1 piece of gold. And the cherubim shall stretch out their wings above, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and they shall face one another, facing each other. This is a picture of we have to be with each other, face each other. And they shall face each other, the faces of the cherubim shall be toward the mercy seat. You shall put the mercy seat, the cabinet, on the top of the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony that I will give you. And there I will meet with you. I will meet with you. It says later on in Leviticus that he will appear here in the cloud and he will speak from the cloud. It's exactly what you see last week. It's exactly what we see on the Mount of Transfiguration, that the voice came from the cloud. All of this is connected now, because you share in the sages' understanding. They call the Messiah the cloud man. That's how we see it. Daniel 7 says, I saw one like the Son of Man coming on the clouds. So Yeshua and clouds really go together, because when he left this earth, he left in a cloud, didn't he? He left in a cloud, and the angel said to the disciples what he's looking at. Why is surprised? So you know, he's going to come back exactly the same way as he left. And we know that's all over the place in Scripture, that he will come back on the clouds. And every eye will see him, even those who pierced him, and they will mourn for one as one mourns for an only son. So for the last 5 minutes, let me just finish that verse. So I will meet with you there, and I will speak with you from above the mercy seat, from between the two cherubim which are on the ark of the testimony, about everything which I will give you in commandments to the children of Israel. So just a bit more, just a bit of doctrine about this mercy seat, and then we finish. Hebrews chapter 9. Just rushed a bit because we got off to a late start, didn't we? All these birthday parties. So amen. Hebrews chapter 9 is a great little read, and it's talking about all of this, you see. And this is where I've spent a bit of time on it. It says in chapter 9 verse 5, it says above it, it's talking about the tabernacle, and it's talking about the holiest holy place, the holiest of all, the holy of holies, where the tabernacle, where the ark of the covenant went. And it says above it, above the ark of the covenant, where the cherubim of glory overshadowing the mercy seat. And then he says, of these things we cannot speak now in detail. Which when I read that, I thought, why? And that just sort of draws you in to go, come on, I've got plenty of time to talk about it. I didn't have any time to talk about it then, but that was there just to make you know, I want to talk to you about this. That's what I read when I read it, I see that. I've got nothing, I can't speak about it in detail now, because I'm going to speak it in detail to you individually, if you've got ears to hear. So this word mercy seat in the Greek, you see, in the Greek, you've got to understand it now. It's only used twice in the New Testament, here and one other place, and that's in Romans chapter 3, verse 25. And that's where we'll just finish off for tonight. Romans chapter 3. Because this is the gospel message. This is the gospel message. This is the gospel message. Romans chapter 3, and we will start off in verse 20. Romans 3, all the start of Romans is Paul is explaining the gospel. So we start off Romans 1 as we're going up. The gospel, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. The gospel is the power of God unto salvation. Because in the gospel, the righteousness of God is revealed to the Jew first and also to the Gentile. That's what Romans is about. So Romans chapter 3 verse 20, we'll be finished soon now. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, no flesh will be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. But now, the righteousness of God apart from the law is revealed, being witnessed by the Torah and the prophets, even the righteousness of God through faith in Yeshua the Messiah, to all and on all who believe. For there is no difference. There's no difference. Because all have sinned. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So this is what he's explaining here. The righteousness of God does not come from keeping the Torah or the law, or the Levitical law is what he's talking about here specifically. The righteousness of God does not come that way. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. This is how it works. Being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Messiah Yeshua. Now this is the verse. Whom God set forth as a propitiation. Propitiation is the same word that is in Hebrews translated as mercy seat. Same word in Greek. I'll just tell you what the word is. Just so you know. Hilasterion in Greek. The hilasterion. Hilasterion is translated, it's only used twice. It's translated in Hebrews as mercy seat, and it's translated in Romans as propitiation. It's the same word, and that's what God's saying. That God sent forth Yeshua, the Messiah, to be our propitiation, to be our mercy seat. By his blood, through faith, to demonstrate his righteousness, because in his forbearance God had passed over the sins that were previously committed, to demonstrate at the present time his righteousness, that he might be just and the justifier of the one who has faith in the Messiah, because he's got to be just, hasn't he? God has to be just. He can't give the law and then everyone break it and God just go, well, I'm God, so just forget about it, I'll let it all off. He's got to be just. And if he has said that the wages of sin is death, then it needs to be someone's death here. Well, guess whose death that was? The Messiah. He sent him forth to be the mercy seat. His death, his blood, that was all that's needed. Anyone that adds to that is accursed, according to Paul in Galatians. Anyone that presents any other gospel than faith than salvation by grace through faith, let them be accursed. Let them be accursed, because that's not the gospel. That's clear from here, isn't it? Yeah. It says the righteousness of God apart from the law is revealed, being witnessed by the law. And that's what Paul's on about later in Romans, when he's saying, come on, we're not under the law. And that might get you going, what? I thought we were into the Torah. I thought we met on the Sabbath where we were. Well, we're not. We're not under the law. We are not under the law. We're not. That's what the Bible says. The Bible says we're not under the law. What's that mean? It doesn't mean the law's being done away with. It doesn't mean we don't keep the Torah. Under the law means what it's saying here, that you are trying to be saved by the deeds of the law. It cannot save you. I mean, how clear is that got to be in Galatians? It cannot save you. It's not there to save you at all. Only through the Messiah. If the Torah could save you, what's Yeshua doing on the cross? What's the point of Yeshua? Why are you dying for us? Why are you shedding your blood for? If we can just keep the Torah and that can save us. Why? Well, it's clear that it can't. It's clear that it can't. You know, and if that upsets anyone, I'm really sorry, but that's what the Bible says, isn't it? It's just what it says, isn't it? That's just the Bible, you know. So let's just stick to the Bible. But I'll just finish off that passage from Romans so you don't think that I hate the law. Because you might think that I do, saying that. But I don't. Verse 27, where's boasting then? It's excluded by what law? Of works? No, but by the law of faith. Amen. Therefore, we conclude that a man is justified by faith apart from the deeds of the law. Or is he the God of the Jews only? Is he not also the God of the Gentiles? Yeah, of the Gentiles also. Since there is one God who will justify the uncircumcised by faith, and thank God the circumcised by faith and the uncircumcised by faith. That's the uncircumcised in flesh, clearly. But this verse is a cracker. Do then, because it's a great question Paul's saying here. He's sort of saying, the law doesn't save you, you know. So now he's saying, well, what's then? Shall we make void the law through faith? That's what the Christian church has told us, isn't it? It's all done away with now. Don't need it anymore. Let's do away with it. Thank God that Paul's asked that question. Shall we do that? Shall we make void the law through faith? Certainly not. Certainly not. On the contrary, the exact opposite. We establish the Torah. So if that's confusing, good, because you can go away and work your own salvation out with fear and trembling, like we read last week. That phrase made so much more sense now, didn't it? We have come to Mount Zion. And at Mount Sinai, everyone was in fear and trembling. Even Moses was greatly afraid and trembling, it says in Hebrews. And so that phrase of fear and trembling is a Mount Zion phrase now. To make us come and go, Father, never mind what that STMAC says, and never mind what that other fella says on YouTube. Will you please show me? Hey, any chance of showing me? I want to understand this covenant. I want to walk in your covenant, Father. And so will you please help me to understand this? Because these things seem to be a bit contradictory, but they're not contradictory at all. And that's what we spent most of last week trying to establish, wasn't it? That there are indeed two covenants. And the best way to understand this is to use the Bible. Don't use someone else's arguments that's going down some strife road of strife and argument. It's clear. Hebrews is spending all of its time really telling us that there's two priesthoods. There's two priesthoods here. There's a Levitical priesthood that's done away with, that's finished, that's obsolete and passing away. And that was at the time when we still had a temple. You know, he's writing this at the time when they still had a temple and they were going through all that. Now that there is no temple, it's like, come on. The Levitical priesthood is weaker. And that first covenant, Hebrews says, was weak. This covenant, this new covenant, this is the covenant that can save us. That is what the Bible is teaching, you know. And I'm quite comfortable with that now, you know. Quite comfortable to say, to explain what Paul is saying. Because the Christian church has gone, there's two covenants, the old covenants, oh that's all done away with now. And the new covenants, you can do what you like now. Well, that's not what Paul's teaching. He's teaching the old covenant was the Levitical priesthood. And the new covenant is a different priesthood altogether of Melchizedek. That priesthood is seated at the right hand of God. That priesthood knows that there is nothing we can do to earn this. And we will just rest. We will just know that the work's been done. We will enter his rest. And from that position of rest, we will be able to do the works of the law, what he's called us to do. But if we're trying to do that to be saved, then we're under the law. And we've got the wrong gospel. And that will only lead to tears. So, we'll have to finish there. Amen. Father, thank you for this gospel. Thank you for the mercy seat. Thank you for the Ark of the Covenant, which contains the Torah, which contains your instructions. Father, we don't want a faith that's got no Torah. We don't want a faith that hasn't got the instructions of God. We want the full faith, Father. We want the Ark of the Covenant with your word in it. And we also want the mercy seat. We also want the covering of Messiah's blood, because we know we cannot be saved by works. That's a false gospel. That is even accursed. And so we don't want any part of that false gospel, Father. But we do not want to be part of a Torah-less gospel either. We want the truth and nothing but the truth. We want you to sanctify us by your truth, Father, and teach us all these things. Father, we read tonight in Revelation that the cowards have got no chance. Cowards won't be getting in. And so I pray, Father, for this group that you'll deliver us from that and give us courage and boldness, Lord God, and confidence, Lord God, to approach you because of the work of the Messiah, because we can come boldly before your throne of mercy and grace. Help us all here, Father. Help us, Father. Amen. The love of God, the grace of Yeshua the Messiah, and the fellowship of the Ruach Kodesh, the Holy Spirit, be with each and every one of us to teach us these things and to deliver us into the right faith. Amen.